I wish I had learned this truth many years ago. Be thankful for the days, good and bad.
All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, I have an amazing warrior guest to introduce to you, Lane Dockstader, and I will be back about him in just a second. But first, let me tell you why you're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. In each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life, entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future, and today's guest is absolutely no exception. Lane Dockstader is an incredible warrior. His 30-year-plus warrior journey started with an MBA from Minnesota School of Business, and then upon graduation, he became a financial advisor, mentored by the A.G. Edwards CEO. Following this, he worked for 3 of the Big 10 financial firms, 2 different Medicare companies, and did taxes for H&R Block and a local credit union. Today, Lane is a LinkedIn coach and trainer, and now a BeeKonnected certified expert. We'll hear a little bit about what that looks like. His passion is supporting businesses to grow by their social media presence. He enjoys basketball and anything outdoors, and as a drone pilot, a photographer, videographer, and recently an AI artist. That's got to be kind of contemporary and exciting, who loves creating short motivational videos. And when he's really having fun, he'll either stick out his tongue or show us his stick emojis, which I've already seen a few times. Being part of the BeeKonnected community, you only get the benefit of that if you're looking at the replay, because this is an audio podcast, but that's okay. So Lane Dockstader, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. How are things in Utah today?
You know, things are amazing in Utah. It's actually been raining today. I was looking yesterday, there's a 90% chance of rain, so we got lots of fresh air. It's been raining. It's a great day to stay inside and stay warm.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what, are you in the Salt Lake City area or?
Yes, I am. Salt Lake City area. By the way, I used to live in Grand Prairie, went to Grand Prairie High School, lived right in the middle of Dallas and Fort Worth. By the way, go Rangers in the World Series.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of people around here excited about that. I grew up in Kansas City. I'm rooting for the home team because I live here. I've been here for 25 years now, but I grew up in Kansas City. So
Nice.
I'm more focused on football right now with
There you go.
world champion Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm also a Royals fan. They just haven't given me much to cheer about this year. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm excited for it. There's a lot of people around me. It definitely increases the energy level around when you go out and people are all excited about the home team and the World Series. My daughter actually is a general manager of a fitness studio over in Arlington, Texas, which is where the World Series is going to be played
Right.
next couple of days. So it's kind of a incredible time when these things happen. And, you know, around here, they don't always happen as much as I think the local fans would like. But yeah, so anything else going on other than a little bit of rain? And I'm sure it's beautiful this time. I love fall most places around the country, but anything else going on there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff with BeeKonnected, as you know, exciting times for that. LinkedIn, of course, LinkedIn has grown to nearly, if you Google it, it's officially 950 million, although it's realistically about 980 million. They'll probably reach the billion mark by the end of the year, more than likely. And so LinkedIn's things are going, gangbusters, and I'm excited about BeeKonnected. But so just pretty much staying
We'll
busy.
get into some of that stuff about what you're doing today, and I'll get a little bit more insight into your reason for being and doing what you do today. So, well, let's do this. I want to get right into your story. So, we're going to take a quick break for the audio audience and hear a little bit of our theme song. It's Not the Getting There Again with Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back. And when we get back, we'll talk about how you got from where you started to where you are today.
But the miles become the teacher while the student learns real slow, traveling blind most of the time. Wherever you go, it's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see.
All right,
How many
we are back.
know your name?
And Lane, as I said before we started or got to this break,
Time was worth
tell me, how did you get from where you started to where you are today? And you get to pick where you start. So that's I know we both got a lot of journey, and that's always a challenge is, okay, where do I start this story? So you get to pick. It's your story.
All right. Well, I'll start when I was a kid. So I grew up the oldest of 8 kids, and a coworker and I, we both were kind of a similar situation. We both were one of 8 kids growing up, and we both had 4 kids ourselves. And so sometimes I joke that makes me half the man my dad was, because I could only handle half the kids that he did. But 8 kids growing up, and kind of rough times a little bit, because my dad, he liked his alcohol. He was an alcoholic. And so, that had some challenges. And, so my way of escaping, growing up was I would read books, or I would focus on schoolwork. And so a lot of my school years, I was an A student for most of my classes. Got I think a couple B's and a C in high school. But yeah, growing up, it was just kind of a rough time, because here you look up to your dad, and he's like the leader of the family, so to speak. And he 1 minute you don't recognize him because he's a totally different person. So yeah, there's some emotion under all that, but
Sure.
I mean it I don't know, and it's interesting too, because over the years, so my dad, he passed when he was, I think, 49 years old.
Wow.
And so I was like 23 at the time. And so it was also strange getting to that time where I'm older than my dad was, because when you're like, you reach that point in your life, like I'm older than my dad was when he passed. And that's just kind of a interesting experience. So yeah, so I'm embarrassed to say that, 8 kids, my parents weren't necessarily always the best financially. And so I remember I there was a time where I just ate fast, because if you're one of 8 kids and you don't eat fast, you don't eat, or you don't eat what you wanted to. And I'm embarrassed to say that, like, we would have churches donate food to our family and stuff like that. And so growing up, this financial baggage, I guess you could say, is a lot of growing up, that type of thing. And so one of my favorite things now is I love Undercover Boss. I love the CEO that kind of sneaks into the workplace and finds troubles, finds the homeless person, someone living in their car, or someone that's taking care of mom, and mom has cancer and things like that, and they're able to financially make a difference in their lives. And so that's one of the things I'm looking forward to going forward, is being able to make a difference in people's financial lives. And so that's kind of what I have a passion for, is, supporting people financially, making a difference that way, because I've been at the bottom of that, had a family situation where 8 kids, and then, when my dad passed, especially, I mean, and, some of us were, out of the house or grown up by then, but for the most part, he had let his life insurance lapse. And so, as you can imagine, when the breadwinner of the family passes away and they don't have life insurance, that can be pretty challenging for a family. So yeah, that my early years was a lot of it has to do with the baggage of, being the son of an alcoholic and having this, financial burden that I always, saw that there was a need for the family to have a better situation than they were in for the most part.
Well, I love the fact that you saw and experienced, not that you experienced what you experienced, but your response, which is clearly a warrior response, which is, okay, I want better for my family. I learned from that. Nietzsche says, if what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, destroy us doesn't make us stronger, whatever. I mean, all of those are kind of cliche, and kind of, when you're going through it, doesn't mean anything, but yeah, that's fascinating. So that seems like it kind of informed, if I can use that word, informed your path forward. Now I reflect on your being a financial planner and doing some of that kind of stuff early on. So tell me about that. So you went to college, you got your MBA. I mean, we have something in common there. And then you embarked upon your some of the financial planning, financial consulting type of stuff. So tell me how that went forward, and obviously changes, you had to have encountered some zombies along that path. I heard already your aspiration, but it's financial planners and advisors and insurance. I mean, I know a lot of those guys, and it's not an easy thing to pursue. As much as you want to help people, sometimes the people that you want to help aren't ready to be helped. So tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, and let me kind of rewind a little bit as we're talking about that, because my first year of college, speaking of which, and again, I graduated from Grand Prairie High School, which is right in the middle of Dallas and Fort Worth. My first year of college, I went to UT Arlington, so pretty close to the Ranger Stadium and the new Cowboy Stadium, fairly close to that area. And so my first semester, and what I wanted to go into was computers. I'm going to go into computers. My first semester, I took because I thought, what should I do with my life? And I thought, well, computers is the wave of the future, right? Mm. And so, and kind of funny thing, my first year of college, this is before the internet, so I'm kind of dating myself here, but before the internet was a thing, my friend, my roommate and I, my college roommate and I, we hooked up a computer to something back in the day that they called a bulletin board system, a BBS. So so back in the day, you had to hook up, for the younger generation, back in the day, you had to hook your computer up to a phone, and you hear this loud, noise, and it would dial other computers. So they actually had email, because these bulletin board systems would call each other, and you could still send email that way. And, people could play games like checkers, but it was much different than today, because you would make one move in checkers, and then you'd have to wait till the next day for the other person to make their move. So it took like a month or something just to play a game like checkers, because each day you made one move. And so I was kind of in computers, and I knew that was the way of the future. My first semester, I took a computer 101 class, right? Like, what's a mouse? What's a disk drive? The different parts of a computer. That was an easy A. So I'm thinking, yes, I'm well on my way getting to this degree. And then all of a sudden a zombie popped up in my life the second semester because I took a programming C class. And that class and I did not get along. I don't know if it was me, if it was the teacher, if it was just the subject material, but it was literally a different language. And I had no idea what was going on in that class. So I knew that I had to drop the class, which I did. But the problem was that was a prerequisite. Like, you had to take that class before you take any other classes. And so, long story short, I decided to change my major and do business. And then I started taking business classes because I thought I can do anything with business. And the more and more that I came across any class that had to do with money or finance, and again, I was probably drawn to that because of some of the things that, growing up without, so to speak. And so I decided to take finance, and I ended up getting my degree in finance. And then, again, another zombie came up. So when my senior year of college, I'm going to a job fair, and I'm seriously looking at two options. I'm either going to become, there was some kind of an IRS agent with a gun type thing that they would fight like money launderers and stuff. I actually applied for that twice and never heard back. So the IRS guy with the gun thing didn't work out. But then I decided my other option was to become a financial advisor. I thought, maybe I'll sell stocks, I'll, make my $1 million, and then I'll travel the world, right? Well, when I first became a financial advisor, I worked for one company. I actually worked for American Express Financial Advisors for 2 months. And the reason it was only 2 months was if you didn't pass any 2 tests, you're out. And so there was a Series 7, which is almost equivalent to a bar exam for financial advisors, a big 5-hour test. You go in for 2 hours, take an hour lunch, and then you're in for another 2 hours. So it's a big, long test. And that there was something called a 63, which five of the 7 group before our group did not pass. And so we studied extra hard, and I passed that one just fine. And then the Series 7, the first time I took it, I guess I'm a 2 test taker for many of these tests, these big job type tests. So the first time I took a Series 7, I did not pass it. I think I missed it by 3 questions. You had to get like a 70, and I missed it by 2 questions. And so then I took a life insurance test, and the same thing happened with that one. I did not pass it. And so immediately American Express Financial Advisors says, you're gone. We're letting you go because any 2 tests and you're gone. Because they pay you basically to work, to study for, 2 weeks at a time for these tests. And so they only let you go so far. So long story short, I didn't pass it. Although the receptionist said, if you pass this one, because this one you can just take on your own, if you pass it, they'll probably hire you back. And so going off of that, I went and took my life insurance test. I finally passed it, and I came back to American Express, and they said, no, we still can't hire you because you didn't pass the first time. And so I started calling companies, and, here I am now unemployed. I started calling companies, and long story short, I get hired by A.G. Edwards, big 5 investment company at the time. They eventually became Wells Fargo Financial Advisors. But anyway, so I'm well on my way. They gave me a little sample test, and they said, well, according to the sample test, you have an 86% chance of passing this test the next time you take it, which I did. Of course, I had been unemployed for a month and had studied for an extra month too. But anyway, I did pass it. So again, another zombie is just trying to get through those tests, those little things that we do along the way. And so, but then a year later, and again, I'm kind of dating myself. So it starts salary, and then every quarter it steps down so that by the end of a year, I'm 100% commission. Well, right about that time, a little event that you may have heard of, 9/11 happened, and the stock market went like this, right?
Right.
And so it was not the best time for me to be a financial advisor. And so I took a little bit of a break from that and learned I went to work for a sales training company, went to work for Hertz Rental Cars for a little while, and kind of did some other things. And then at Hertz, Hertz used to be owned by Ford, but they were smart enough to realize that not everybody wants to drive a Ford, so they had Chevys and Toyotas and Cadillac. They had all different kind of cars. And then I worked there for 4.5 years. I was a manager at night, which was kind of interesting because there was a time where I became the most senior night manager because the day managers had the good schedules during the day. And so I kind of felt like the buck stops here. Like I had to make a decision at night. If there was a decision that had to be made at night, as the most senior manager, I had to make that decision. So things were going well. And the nice thing about working at Hertz as a manager was I got some good benefits.
Yeah.
I got to drive a car for free. So I actually sold my car. I had car benefits. So I got to drive a different car every day, and I didn't have to pay for gas. I didn't have to pay for car insurance. I had no car payment, no repair bills or anything like that. So from that perspective, it was a great job. And one month I even won an award for top sales. Cause of course, at Hertz, you can do upgrades. So like ski season, you can upgrade, SUVs and different things like that. You can sell the insurance and things like that. And so I actually won a trip to Colorado because I was a top sales manager one month. Well, the very next month, Ford sold Hertz. So new ownership, new company. And basically what the new company does is they buy a building or they buy a company, do whatever they can to get the stock price to go up, and then they sell it. So they're just profit. They're just looking for profits.
Sure.
But the problem was they said, we want you to lay off 20% of your workforce. And we want you to do it strictly by seniority. And so even though I had just won an award literally the month before for being a top performing manager, I had been there 4.5 years, but there were managers there 6, 10, 12, 15 years. And so I got let go. And it was interesting because I walked into a manager's meeting one day, and I looked at the schedule. I'm like, I'm not on the schedule. What's going on? But I'm thinking they probably have me doing training or something, but no, they let me go. And so another zombie in my life. So that's a stressful situation. Anybody that's been laid off or let go of your work, that's kind of a stressful situation, obviously. But then, I continued on and had a chance to work for Morgan Stanley, a big company, as a financial advisor. And one of the things I did is I worked for the Amazon account. Amazon had, each employee got like 2 or 3 different shares of stock at one point. And so a lot of times they needed money, like kid needs braces, somebody needs a new car or fix their car or something like that. So people would call and I would help them sell their stocks. And then along the way, I worked for Transamerica Financial Advisors, another big company. And then I kind of took a turn in my career. I was looking online and I saw this advertisement for a weekend drone conference where they would teach you about these helicopters about yay big, and you would fly these helicopters up and take pictures and video and things like that. So I started my own real estate drone business. So my target market was real estate agents. So I would, fly up and take pictures and videos of their fancy homes and help them market those homes. And then, but that wasn't as working as well as I thought. And so I went back to becoming a financial advisor again with a company called Transamerica Financial Advisors, which is also another big company. And so I've had this passion of, supporting people financially. And then, of course, 9/11 happened, and I decided, I'm going to help people a different way. I'm going to help people on LinkedIn. I'm going to help people grow their business or get a job. And so that's really what I've been doing for the last 4 years now, is helping people on LinkedIn.
Well, let's do this. Before we get into what you're doing today, and it sounds like we're getting kind of to the present, and we've overcome, the things going through some of those. I'm sure there's a lot more we could chat about, but I want to make sure we get into the third segment, where we'll talk about kind of why you're doing what you're doing today. And I know you've kind of come into this area of coaching and helping people on LinkedIn platform now as a BeeKonnected Elite 100 coach and some other things. So I know there's a lot of things informing what you're doing today. So let's take another quick break. We'll hear a little more of our theme song, It's Not the Getting There by Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back with Lane Dockstader and Warrior versus Zombie.
It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know. Funny how wisdom and
all right, Lane, I got to tell you, there's a lot of similar. I've had some of those experiences. I showed up in a meeting with getting ready to lay out my business plan with my boss, who was actually a temporary leader, and he said, "Yeah, well, we've decided, and can you have your." And I was the number one ranked, to your same story, I was the number one ranked leader in the company. I won't mention names of the company. And they said, we've reorganized and you don't have a job. You got 6 weeks to find another place in the company. It's a big enough company. And I was pretty devastated. Now, that all worked out good. That's what brought me to Dallas, actually, with the same company, but and ended up working with the vice chairman. So it didn't end up bad, but it is a pretty does knock your pins out, as I say, when those kinds of things occur. So anyway, before the break, we were talking about you're doing the LinkedIn stuff and wherever. That's kind of where I think you and I began to cross paths or whatever. So tell me about that. Why are you doing what you're doing today?
Yeah. So, and again, it kind of ties back to, I have this passion, this desire to support people financially, to make a difference in their lives. And money is a tool. Money is an object. The way I look at it is, a good person, or a bad person with money, as just a tool for them to do more bad things, kind of. And, money in the hands of a good person, is a tool to help them do things, do those good things that they're doing. And I've thought about it, that money is an acronym to me. It stands for more options, new everything for you. It's kind of what I've decided. And so I want to give people more options, and money isn't everything, but the last time I went to the grocery store, they were asking for money, just because I was a kind person, or just because I did my good Boy Scout deed for the day earlier today. The grocery store doesn't care about that. They want money. And so, but yeah. And so that's what drives me is having options, giving people, those options that can make a difference financially. And of course, and I've worked with Medicare. And so what that means to me is I've seen the lady who was eating cat food for lunch. I've seen the people that, have lost their homes, or, because people over 65, the number one reason for bankruptcy is health issues. And that can flip the switch just like that. You have health issues that can go downhill quick. And so, that's really my passion is helping people financially. And, and we don't have, like previous generations, they had pensions, they had, these great 401ks or pensions where they would get paid for the rest of their life. Now, most companies kind of rely on the individual to do 401ks. I mean, they'll do matches or stuff, but the other problem is most people, when they change jobs, they spend the little 401k that they had for the job, and so they're not letting it grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm kind of worried for all future generations that don't have that, the 401k or the pension where it needs to be. And so that's really where my passion lies, is helping people grow their business, or, in the case of LinkedIn as well, get a job. And so that's what I do. And so, and I like to, I learned social media. I love to do fun posts. To me, it's about one of my specialties is people's profile. Like on LinkedIn, there's the, your picture, there's the background picture, there's a title. So imagine you're looking for a job. Most job recruiters that are looking to hire someone, they'll maybe give you 5, because they have maybe a stack of 100 resumes, right? So they may give each person 5 to 7 seconds where they're going to decide, am I even going to take a closer look at this person? And they're skilled, and they do this every day. And so within 5 to 7 seconds, they can make that decision. Should I even look at this person to see if I can hire them? And we all do that as potential customers too, as we'll look at an ad or look at something online, and we might give it 5 to 7 seconds mentally to decide, is this something that I even want to, keep looking at? And so to me, the profile on the social media profile on like LinkedIn or BeeKonnected, I've learned that BeeKonnected is kind of the same thing, but setting up that picture, setting up the banner, the background picture, setting up the title or those keywords, that's critical. And then once you've gotten their attention, then you want to tell your story. That's what that about section, or in the case of BeeKonnected, the about me section, that's a chance for you to tell your story and to talk about yourself, but do it in a way that's interesting for the other person. And that's where some people miss out. They talk about themselves because most of us, most people's favorite radio station is WIIF. What's in it for me, right? And so we want to talk about ourselves, but we, if we're doing something on social media, putting our profile together, we want to make sure that we look at it from the shoes of the other person. What are they going to be interested? Because it's kind of about us, but what are they going to be interested in about us? Why should they, connect with us? And so we have a chance to tell our story. And then at the bottom of that story, of that about section or about me section on BeeKonnected, this is where a lot of people miss out, is they don't have a good call to action. And I ask people, if you're looking for a job and that great recruiter comes on and they want to hire you, the question is, how do you want them to connect with you? How do you want them to reach out? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them to send you a message? Whatever that is, put that as a call to action at the bottom of your about section or about me section, and invite people to connect with you that way. And the same thing if you have a business. If you have a business, and the perfect client comes along, the perfect customer, how do you want them to contact you? And then go ahead and put that in as an invitation at the bottom of your about section or about me section. And so, helping people promote their business, helping people get that job, land that job that will make a difference financially for their future and their lives and their families. That's what my passion is. That's what drives me. That's what gets me up in the morning.
Well, and I can see my next question is normally, what is your unique value? But one of the things I've learned, this is episode 123, and I've talked to warriors, and it's almost without exception, I can't even think of one where the person's experience along their journey, their story, what we just talked about in the second segment, that it didn't inform what they're doing today. Because frankly, what you're doing today is a logical follow. You have a unique value because you've been there. The what is it? The farmer's insurance ad that says we know some things because we've seen some things or something.
Right.
I mean, you've been through it. The things that you've experienced along the way, the experience, the financial lack going all the way back to your childhood and some of the challenge you went through there gave you some unique perspective. I mean, I know I had back in 2008, had a huge financial hit after I had retired from the corporate world. And, that whole journey, there's a lot of people I could serve today and empathize with and help that I probably couldn't have before I went through what I went through. And you've gone through the loss of a job, you're experiencing that, you're doing stuff, you've learned some things, and now you're passing that on. Any other unique value you see that you bring to the table as you serve the people you're serving today, or whatever, in the people in your life? Could be your kids, I mean, it's not, we all have unique value, as I always say. So it's interesting if you really think back along your path, right? People tend to come to you for the same things. And you say, why is that? Well, because it may be a different job, different role, but you have some unique value that is quickly recognizable. Is there anything else in there that you see that you bring to the party?
Yeah, there's two things. One of the things is I love to tell stories. I love to tell stories. Like when I had my drone business, I would go out to where a real estate agent was having their open house. They were showing off a home, and I would fly my drone up and I would go live on Facebook and say, hey, here we are, and you can see the house, you can see exactly what that drone was seeing. And I have this, my spirit animal is an eagle. So a lot of my stuff, you'll see two things. If you look at anything online, you'll see eagles a lot, and you'll see LIT, and LIT stands for, it stands for Learning Inspired Training, but it also stands for Lane's Inspirational Thought. And so whenever you see that LIT, that's what that's about. And so that eagle, one of the things it represents for me is seeing things from a higher perspective. Back in the day when I worked at A.G. Edwards, they had a tradition of inviting people to have lunch with the CEO. And it was interesting when I went, because we had an outgoing and an ingoing CEO. So I actually got to go to two different lunches with two CEOs. But the outgoing CEO, I remember riding up the elevator to this top floor in St. Louis, Missouri, and seeing his, as you can imagine, a lot of CEOs have this top floor office, and they have this amazing view where they can see everything of the city all around. And I was looking around and I was thinking, this is why CEOs have these offices at the top of these buildings, because you literally have a higher perspective. Mm-hmm. You can see everything all around. And so to me, that's what this eagle represents to me, is being able to have this vision, seeing things from a higher perspective. And so that's one of the things I do, is I look at the big picture, but then I, kind of use my eagle eye, so to speak, and I look at the fine details as well. Now, as far as so I love to tell a story, and I love to do that in different ways online through my posts and things like that. But part of it is about legacy too. Mm-hmm. One of my embarrassments in life is when my oldest daughter, she came of age where she was looking to go to college, and here I had been a financial advisor at 3 different firms. And I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't have my act together. I didn't have my goal, and my dream was I would like to support my daughter and all my kids to be able to go to college. When the time came and they said, hey, Dad, how can we pay for this, to have something set aside for that? And I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't. I didn't have, a full ride, college, financial stuff set up for her. I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't have that. And so one of my one of my things that I'm working on now that really drives me too is having a legacy. Having a legacy so that if my son says, "Hey, I want to start a business," that I can support him in some way with that. That if my daughter or granddaughter, I'm a grandpa now, I have a little 5-year-old. She's 5 years old. On the one hand, I love her to death and she's there, but on the other hand, I'm still wrapping my head around the grandpa thing. I don't feel like that's even reality. That doesn't seem real to me.
Oh no, it's the best. It's the best. Grandpa is the best. Yeah.
It's awesome, but I'm just still, I don't identify as a grandpa. Let me put it that way. So part of my thing is legacy. Like, that's one of the things that I'm building right now, is setting aside a legacy so that if there's family members, when there's friends, when there's causes that I'm willing to promote, that I have those resources to do that. And so that's one of the things that really drives me too.
Yeah, I think that, well, and in fact, that's not only, you kind of answered the next question for me, so I don't even have to ask that, but it was what kind of impact, and then what are you, if anything were possible, and oh, by the way, everything's possible, kind of impact you want to have. And that's pretty clear as it comes to your messaging and what's driving you now is being able to get to the end of the day knowing you've had that impact. Well, let's do this. We're getting close to, we need to land the plane, as I say. I always use these plane metaphors since I had 4 million miles on airlines. So getting to where we land the plane here. So when we come back, I want to hear about if we take away anything from this discussion, what's the most important thing or things? Warriors are overachievers. So I started out with, give me one thing. And for so long, I couldn't get anybody to just give me one. They had to give me 2 or 3. So if you want to pick more than one, it's fine. But just when we come back, I want to hear what you want to make sure we don't miss after listening to this podcast.
Funny how wisdom and youth are always 2 different games. The years flew by so fast, is the common human complaint. The memories in our minds turn to diamonds in our soul, and by the grace of God.
All right, Lane, I tell you, there's so many things you say that I can relate to. Always know, with our connection generator and stuff, it offered you up in the BeeKonnected world, and it's amazing to me how that AI clearly defines people we're aligned with, and we are definitely that on a lot of levels, even to the fact that the only class I flunked in college myself was COBOL, was Fortran programming. I was supposed to be an engineer, and I decided that before that, I really wanted to be in business anyway. So I think I won't say I failed it on purpose, but you can't do Fortran programming without paying attention or studying. And I decided I was going to make them let me change curriculums. Anyway, whole other side. But as I said before the break, if we take away anything from this discussion, from your story, from what you're doing today, any of that, what would you want to make sure we take away?
So it's interesting when you talk about landing a plane, because as a drone pilot, you're supposed to have line of sight with your drone. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to have it within 400. I'm trying to remember, is it 400 feet or 400 yards? I think it's feet, 400 feet. But one time I was flying it up, and I was kind of up in the mountains, so it's kind of a windy area, and I'm looking at my drone, and all of a sudden I can't see it anymore. The wind had caught it, and it went over someplace, and I couldn't see it. But I had a little iPad mini, and so I could see, by looking at that, I could see what my drone could see. I just couldn't see my drone. And so I kind of got nervous, because, the kind of drone I have, it's like a $1,500, it's not a cheap drone. It's almost a $2,000 drone. And I'm trying to land the thing, but I can't see it. And so I'm flying around for a little bit and I still can't see it after like 6 or 7 minutes. And so finally I decide, well, I'm going to look for a road. So there was a road behind me and I ended up landing it on the other side of that road. So I at least kind of had an idea of where it was. And then I went and got in my car and I went down and I found it. But the interesting thing is when you're talking about landing the plane is I remember that was a challenge and that was an obstacle. I had a zombie in my way of landing my drone, but I was able to do it. And so I think if I had one thing to say as far as landing the plane or something that you would keep, and you said it a couple times, you can accomplish anything. And so it's our mindsets, it's our mindset of aligning with, the universe, the world out here. It has anything available to us, but we get to align ourselves with that, with our mindset. And so as we stick with it, and as we, work on, as we align ourselves with those things will come together. That's the biggest thing. So even though, when I was laid off, it feels like in the moment the world is ending.
Yeah.
It's a painful, it can be a pain. So some of these zombies in our lives, they can be painful experiences, but we learn from them. And like you said, normally when those things have happened to me, I've found something better, better job, a better situation shortly thereafter. And so this life is all about learning. We learn and we go and we grow. So that's one thing. And then, as far as whatever our goals are, I mean, for me, it's finance. I realize everything isn't about money, but it's about having freedom and having choices and having options. And so we can create that. It's just like a painter. A painter can create an amazing, picture. Myself, most of my life, I haven't thought of myself as a great painter. Like sometimes my hands don't, if I don't have the best, I perceive myself as not having the best handwriting. Sometimes people can't even read it, but I have other forms, other ways that I express myself, photography, online posts,
Sure.
This AI art, different things like that. And so, whatever we focus on, we can get it. We will get it as long as we focus on that and put ourselves out there and, have the faith. Part of it is faith, having that mindset. And then the other part is doing the step that it takes to get there. And so,
well, I love it. That's a great takeaway. And as you say, the focus on things and the ability to achieve whatever you set your mind to, I think that's key. And even when, as you illustrated in your story and some of the things as you had to pick yourself up, that you learn from those and you move on. Well, this has been great, Lane. Very powerful, a lot of warrior nuggets here, a lot of things I know the listeners are going to take away. So how do we stay in touch? What's the best way to follow up with you?
So one of the ways is I have a website. It's simply my name, lanedockstader.com. Also on BeeKonnected. I'm on BeeKonnected. So jump on BeeKonnected. I'm Lane Dockstader, LANE, and then DOCKSTADER. And then my company name is LI Training, again, Learning Inspired Training.
All right. Well, that's easy enough. And you have a unique enough name, Lane, as we talked about before, that people can find you on the platform. There's still only about 25,000 or so on the platform. That's getting ready to explode. But you still have a reasonably unique name that people will find you and LaneDockstader.com is also straightforward. Well, we're going to have to land the plane, Lane, as I said, and or the drone or whatever you want to call it. No, we're going to have to land the plane. I really, thanks for sharing with our audience. I'm sure they're going to get a lot out of this. I appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you, David, and thank you for your listeners. Each one of them, they can accomplish anything they decide to do. It's just a matter of, getting the right mindset and doing the do.
Do the do. I'll take that one away. All right. Well, it's time to go. For those in our audience, you'll hear the final outro. Listening audience, you'll hear the final outro if it's not the getting there. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Warrior versus Zombie.
It's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know.